Hola community, welcome to Blender.Today, episode 203. We took a week break to work on the release notes for the release that is coming up next week. Yes, in a bit over a week, on Wednesday next week, Blender 3.3 LTS, long-term support, is due to come out still, if nothing goes wrong. So get ready for it. As usual, everything that I'm going to mention today, mostly it's about 3.4. It's about the alpha version that is currently being developed. Although many of the fixes, actually this week includes many fixes, and those are for 3.3. We're still in fixing phase. There will be a lock of a freeze basically on the development on master branch next week, right before the release. So for one day, for a few hours actually only, just to build the final release. It's coming along pretty nicely actually. 3.3 LTS, it's going to be an actual nice stable release for the next 2 years, because it has the Python 3.10, which makes it compatible with the VFX platform. So hopefully that's going to make it that more people and more studios use it and keep it around. Also, the last LTS was 293, so it's about time, right? It's going to be the first LTS with Cycles X improvements, with all the geometry nodes, with named attributes. What actually 293 also had named attributes, just the old system. So actually, for people that are only using LTS releases, they are not gonna see a difference. They're not gonna notice a difference because there's only the name of the nodes have changed. But yeah, Hunter says, I still love using 2.93 LTS. That is then even better reason to switch. Although 2.93 LTS still has one more year of support. So until next year, when? June or so. So yeah, let's go. Everything is okay. Thanks, Adam, for letting me know that everything it's okay in audio and the video. Let's go straight to it. By the way, remember, we are streaming live from Amsterdam, and there's no blog post. No, there's no thread yet. So let's let me make one for you so you can start asking questions. All right, so I'm trying to get okay, let's try to make the link. Oh, I'm not logged in. Let's see if I can log in. Ta-da! With my Blender ID. And please check your video drivers are up to date. That's the error I was getting from here. I'm trying to copy paste. Here, that's the error I was getting from OBS before releasing. So yeah, not fun. Let's see. Community. This is the thread that is it's called new UV features, because today we're actually going through a bunch of changes in the UV editor, and UV editing in general, which is not something we see often. So pretty excited to talk about that. And also Compositor, some core features, Grease Pencil, user interface, and so much more. Let's start. So first, well, actually before starting, just a few little announcements. One of them is that there is a new video on this channel. You probably have seen it already, but the video goes together with the report about SIGGRAPH. So this blog post by Francesco mentions a bit of, also shows a few pictures of the thread showed compared to previous versions back in the day. This is even in 2006 next to Box. But yeah, this year was super nice, and I made a little video about it, short video, 1 minute or so, mainly showing beautiful SIGGRAPH and beautiful Vancouver. Then, oh yeah, and this is the demo session. Okay, the other thing that I would like to mention is that Blender is hiring. There is so many positions actually, because one of them is Senior Blender Developer. And Senior Blender Developer actually has many positions open. The Geometry Hair Physics Nodes Engineer, Senior Renderer Developer, Senior Character Animation Developer, Mac OS Developer, and other positions that maybe they don't fit one category, but always apply. When in doubt, always apply. Was that the body from LTT? Which one? Oh, from SIGGRAPH. Maybe. Yeah. Well, it looks like it. Looks like I missed Anthony. What the heck? Where was I? That would have been super nice to see them and to thank them for using Blender for their benchmarks. It's super nice to see always Blender there when they have to check some hardware. So benchmark. Blender is hiring. Yes, I mentioned that. The senior Blender developer was there already for a bit. There is a new position for backend developer, so web stuff, all the Blender web projects from open data to the Blender Studio website, the old Blender Cloud, to Blender.org, to Gitea, to Development Fund website, the Blender Conference websites. There's just so much that can use some love. So please apply. Web development is more, there's more people, I think, than Blender, like render developers. So hopefully we're gonna get some more positions. The other opening is for communication specialist. What's that? Well, it's kind of what I do in a way, but also to take it a bit further and like maybe write some more copy, more tweets, more engagement with the community. And I'm splitting between this job and other stuff, so and web development, so and other Blender UI that I would like to do more. So we need people to take care of this stuff, and operations manager, but this is in Netherlands, in Dutch, because it needs to be someone from here, someone Dutch, because they need to do all kinds of tax stuff from here, apply for subsidies in the Netherlands, and all the fun stuff. Yeah, fun, super fun. All right, so you know what it's fun? It's when the last announcement is mainly a shout out to Jesse, because Mietinen Jesse at Jesse Mietinen for the crazy things that they are doing with geometry nodes. Like things you wouldn't like. I mentioned this new node, the shortest path node. What people are doing there is like, it's kind of like a pigeon generator. Or also for cars, or also for like anything. There is also another video I saw this week, which is nice to mention. It's a tutorial by Kaizen Tutorials. Look, it's like a video game, like a maze video game. And then there's another intro that makes this. In this tutorial, he explains how to do this kind of stuff, things I wouldn't even imagine possible. Super nice. I watched the entire video. You should check it out. I'm gonna share the link on the chat there while I'm at it, and the other one as well, the tweet. Okay, let's continue. Well, let's start actually with the what's new in Blender this week. First, in core development, there something has changed in the library of that manages Blender, like the way you draw Blender internally. So it didn't mean a change for the user per se. Some improvements for like Linux user, for Wayland, but this change actually introduces rendering, headless OpenGL rendering. What does it mean? Headless is it's not like you decapitate Blender, but you basically run it in the background. So from the terminal, or you run Blender on a render farm. And this is when rendering becomes handy, because you could technically render Eevee on a render farm. So this wasn't so easy before. This opens so many possibilities. Only available on Linux so far, at least as of this commit. But isn't it exciting? Although most render farms are probably gonna be Linux, or they should be, because it's much faster. more efficient. Control C to render is also to cancel the rendering is also supported in the terminal. That shortcut always was confusing to me because Control C is for copying, but yeah, in the terminals usually when you're running a command, Control C will stop it, Control D will close it. So that is the equivalent when you're rendering. You can press Control C to cancel the render, and Blender will still run in the background, I assume. Okay, changing topic. And for this, I get in the pipe. The real-time compositor keeps getting better. Last week, I demo a few of the nodes, but we noticed that mainly of all the filtering nodes were missing, not anymore. Now we have the bokeh image node has been implemented. The filter node has been implemented as well. There's no picture here, but I would like to see you. And this is where you come in as a user, that you can always, answer or like reply or tweet about this new, for example, the filter node was added. Go nuts with the glare. Just add glare everywhere and tag Blender or share it here in the comments, because it's always nice to see what's the change in a more visual way, right? It's a bit unfair that the developers have to code and also make cool art to show their features. So that's where the community can help. Without knowing a line of code, you can just go get the latest experimental build and test it and show a bit of appreciation to developers, like, hey, I did this cool thing with what you just coded. All right, next. Implement directional blur node. Directional blur node and bilateral blur node has been implemented. And last but not least, the Speckle node. Have you ever used the Speckle node? That was introduced, I believe, during, was it Cosmos Laundromat or like Agent 327? It was one of those films where there was so much noise everywhere that we really needed to like get rid of those little fireflies. This is what the Speckle node does. It basically just looks for a pixel around and then it copies over, getting rid of the fireflies effect. Okay, speaking of rendering and noise, let's switch to cycles, because there is a new sampling pattern next to multi-jittering and Sobol, the old Sobol. Now there is Sobol Burling sampling pattern added by Nathan Vegdal, also known from his work as a rigger and animator in Big Buck Bunny like 14 years ago. Now is adding sampling patterns to cycles. Who would have thought? And he implemented, based on a paper, practical hash-based Owen scrambling. What does it mean for the end user? I asked Sergey, and he mentioned that you can get the same amount of noise in less time, so fast. So basically faster rendering. You can get you can basically, in the same render time that you had before, if you took 1 minute before, now in 1 minute, using this sampling pattern, it should have less noise, converge faster. Although it's I don't know if it has been tested with all the combinations of like adaptive sampling and scramble distance. So you have to test that by yourself. You can remember all the links that everything I'm reading here, it's on the description, and you can see here in the differential revision, there are some render tests, I believe. Yeah, and you can test by yourself, or just go here and check the differences. Render time wise, it's nearly the same, but it should be less noise. Less noise and more nice, or nicer. Okay, let's continue. Actually, oh yeah, where do you find this? It's in the sampling section. Okay, let's see. Cycles. It's not in it's in advanced sampling. Under here, under pattern, you can choose Sobol progressive, or the Subble, the new one, with a very handy tooltip that says use that name, random sampling pattern. Use sampling pattern. If you're a user and you understand what, like, you can explain in a few more words, please contribute to make the tooltips a bit more user-friendly. All right, next. I mean, it doesn't have to explain the entire paper in a tooltip, right? But it could say like, I don't know, like faster render time, but more noisy, or like less noise, but it doesn't work with this or that, or that kind of stuff. Okay, let's switch to Grease Pencil. One new feature that has two ways of using it. It's a feature that allows you to, it's an operator, let's start with the operator, that converts the stroke into an outline. So for example, let's see, this probably has already a demo, but okay, let's see if I can do it without. So I make a line, right? So in edit mode, you see just this, but what if I want to have the contour of this, right? Like the outline, basically. You go to stroke and then you click on outline, and then you get the outline. There you go. Oh, and it's not selected by default. It should select it, right? Because if you have everything selected before, it should select it too. If I do the outline of the outline, what happens? Or this is already an outline? Okay, no. Interesting. All right. The other feature, it's a feature that it's just the same as this operator, but instead of working on the selection, it converts it as you paint, as you draw. It's an option in the stroke popover up here. You select the outline, and you can even set the specific material to be used by the outline. So for example, if I use the square stroke, if I paint, if I draw a dark line, and then when I release the mouse, it will convert it into the stroke. I think I picked the worst material because it's yes, it's here, it's tiny. But anyway, you get the idea. Basically, as you start drawing, it will convert it into a outline. I think it's the only missing. Like, we have the operator, you have the brush setting, maybe a modifier, like to convert as like an outline modifier, maybe, and that way you could control it after the fact or not. Anyway, next, let's see. Let's talk a little about the user interface. Actually, this week there's a bunch of changes, and okay, let's start with one that was actually mentioned in one of the comments in one of the live streams in Blender.Today, and it was about a patch that needed review. So it was finally reviewed, and now it's here. The patch, it's very simple. It adds a pie menu to the file browser to quickly change the view. So thumbnail view, list view, or detail view. It's super simple. It's the same shortcut as the view pie menu in everywhere else. So it's in the regular like the tilde key in the regular key map. It's the same shortcut for the file browser view type. So thank you, Finn. Thank you for your patience. The patch has been around for a while. So it was committed in August, but it was made in January. And it's partially my fault, so apologies. But hey, wanna be fair, I also have patches of my own that are waiting review since forever. We're all there. We're all going through that. And let's see the next change. UI, increased range of font size for text editor and console. Yeah, so the text editor and the console had a limit font size between 8 and 32, and that has been upped to and well, extended basically from 1 to 256 to accommodate the high DPI screens or retina displays that need that range. And oh, this one is nice. It's a fix, actually, it's a fix done by removing code. Yeah, so ever run into this case, let's open it in a new window, into this case that when the UI is not large enough, sometimes you would have parts like the ellipses will appear and disappear at random. At least it looked at random. This happened because there is code in place to check where to add the ellipses. But the thing is that at some point, the ellipses, the 3 dots, take so much space that you could actually fit in some more letters. So if you have like RGB, for example, and then you start making the UI smaller, so you have the ellipses, maybe it would be like just 3 dots when it could actually fit RGB, or maybe R 3 dots and maybe it could be RG instead. Anyway, the thing is, the team, the UI team, actually agreed on that it's always better to have, even just if there is room for it, just the 3 dots. And even if there could be some letters hinting to what's possible, it's better to always have and be consistent. Always be consistent. Always have the 3 dots, and not yeah, but not have to guess if like, is this actually cropped or it's actually cropped, or it's just a short word that happens to have a really weird name. But it's fun to see this commit by Colin. It's fun to see the code. Actually, the code just basically just removes this. That's removing a check. All right. The other one is a fix. It's a fix by it's a fix of a fix. Actually, there used to be some issues when trying to like connect to some sockets, to connect nodes to some sockets, unless they were like really in the view, and that brought some issues. So people have noticed and they have reported a fix, and now this has been tackled. So in some cases, when I think it has like a bigger threshold to what is possible to when it is possible to connect it or not. But it's good to see that people are, you know, testing those kind of things. And when you feel like something is weird, just in case, always commit. I'll always report a bug. Okay. Vertical 3 dots will need less space. Yeah, or just an emoji. Right? 3 dot emoji. But isn't there like a one character that is an ellipsis that is just as wide as an eye, or as like a short? All right, next. Hello, Galen. It's your first time watching this live stream. Welcome. BLF, game gamma correction. What does it mean? It means crispier text, basically. So yeah, apparently by changing the gamma, you can make the text look crispier. This is super expanded, but yeah, thanks to Harley for always keeping an eye on this. Pixel perfect changes. Next, okay, this actually has to do with UI and translations. We've been mentioning translation changes and improvements by Damian for already many weeks, and this week the translation work it's done for workspaces. Now the new workspace menu, header, presets, and preset entries, also when you make a new one, and they can be translated, which is super handy. The newly created sockets, node group sockets, also can be translated, and this one is probably the one that is going to be the most useful, and it's gonna, if you make add-ons, it's gonna give you the opportunity to make your add-on more accessible, because now you can translate the add-ons information, which is the window to the content of your add-on, right, to make it more accessible. If someone has their UI in Spanish and your node info is in English because you want to reach more people, then this makes it easier. So thank you, Damian, for keeping an eye on this stuff as well. All right, let's go to the title of this video, UV improvements. Some of the changes, I was a bit confused because it was actually marked as a fix, but it's not a fix. If you look closely, it's just to close this task, but actually, if you look at the task, it was created by Daniel Bystedt. We know Daniel, we know and love Daniel Bystedt, and he's part of the module for modeling and UV and modeling, and has a long list of tasks and like a wish list mainly. He has tons of experience. If you don't know him, you should Google his name, please. Yeah, so he has this list of UV like shortcomings or paper cuts or even whole new features, such as this one. Randomize UV islands is a new operator that it's now available for in the UV editor. So this is the task. This is how he expected it to work, and now it's committed. So there's no video about this, but if you follow a bit at the bottom, actually Daniel made a video showing this, and yeah, the same way that you can randomize the transform on the 3D viewport for objects, now you can also do it for UV islands. Oops, UV island. I hope you were not wearing headphones when I hit the microphone. But yeah, that's it. Randomize, scale, rotation, right? What else? And offset of the selected UV islands. Next, this one, it's add constraint to bounds. Actually, there's many changes around this. So the UV sculpt tools, the ones with the funky icon, let's open a new file, go to UV editing, these ones with the fingers, this is for sculpting. So you can grab and stuff. Well, now all these features, all these tools now have support for constraint to bounds, so the limits of the tool. So I guess it's somewhere here, and it works on all of them. And actually there is a new feature that I'm gonna mention in a bit. Let's go in order. This is the order on which they were committed. So constraint to bound, support for UV relax, UV grab, and UV pinch. Then improve the UV sculpt with boundary support and pin support also for the relax UV tool with the Laplacian method, and add pin UV support to relax the UV tool on all modes, and the pinch UV tool as well. And speaking of the Laplacian method for relaxing, there is a new method for relaxing your geometry your UVs that takes into account geometry. I was spoiling the feature while explaining it. So the Laplacian method looks pretty nice and neat in the UV editor. When you start relaxing, it looks beautiful. However, that's not really always what you want, because what you want is to take into account, not to have everything evenly spaced, but to take into account the size of the geometry in the 3D viewport, the actual size, for example. So you have you preserve the detail where it matters. So for example, this is the Laplacian method, which is still available, it's just an option in the menu. you can see the F4 here is a bit stretched, and the new method is called geometry. And as you can see, this is before, this is after. It takes into account the geometry and makes things so much nicer. Oh, of course, in the UV editor, you're still gonna see it like it looks a bit weird, but here it looks super nice. So nice. This is a game changer for the relaxed tools. I'm so happy to be able to share so many changes this week in the UV editor. Okay, where do you find this? In the brush settings of, let me show you in Blender here. So when you have the relax tool open here, selected, then by default is Laplation. The second one is HC with a very useful tooltip again called use H. So it says relaxation method, and the option is called HC, and the tooltip is use HT method for relaxation. Thank you, Blender. This one, the new one, has a better description. So again, please, you need to come and help, please, with the use geometry cotangent relaxation. Actually, geometry shouldn't be capitalized here. So yeah, the Laplation method. I think there is a need for a pass in many tooltips in Blender. So that's one way that you as a non-developer can contribute to Blender. Okay, next change is the tool, the tool support, the graph tool, sorry. Graph tool now supports live unwrapping. Nice. Is there a video? There's no video, but do you know live unwrapping? Which means it is what it means basically. So you, instead of having to turn on the, like to pin your mesh, add those pin vertices, and then recalculate the unwrapping every time, you can just leave it, turn it on. You can, is in UV live unwrap, and as you, like if you have a pin your mesh, when you move things around, well, let's try to pin, well, this is probably not the best example to start, but yeah, with P you pin, and as you move, it will recalculate the, okay, let's maybe remove one. There you go. So now if you grab and move things around, it should recalculate the pinning, in the pinning, the live unwrap as you sculpt. Another feature in UV, this week actually it's all about UV. Respect UV selection for Smart UV, cube, sphere, and cylinder projection. This is another one of those features that use like, how Blender didn't have this before. The Smart UV project, cube, sphere, and cylinder projection always worked in the entire mesh. Didn't respect the selection, and now it does, thanks to Chris and Campbell for reviewing it, and everybody in the module and the community for testing it, and especially to the Blender Development Fund supporters, members, because they are the ones that make it possible for Blender Foundation to add grants, on which in those grants Chris is working on UV stuff. So yeah, community effort. And let's see, hey, Mano Jarvinen is the last one to 3 hours ago start a gold membership. Thank you, Manu. Nice to see you. That's a nice surprise. Actually, this is a cool way to find people from the community. Hard Ops, they renewed 2 of their memberships. No, 3 of their members. They have 1 membership for each level, basically. They're nuts. Awesome. Next. What else? Oh, okay. The constraint to bounce support was also added to the UV rotation operator. So yay for that. Okay, that was enough for UV editing in just a week. And it was contributed at 6 AM on Saturday. Chris, I don't know what time zone you are in, but please don't burn out. Thanks for all your work. Okay, next. I think we're already starting to get into the potpourri territory because there is a bit of everything. This change that I'm about to show you is actually in 3.3 LTS. It's part of the library overrides project. The last week, the last episode, so 2 weeks ago, I mentioned I was showing you the new menu for I think I have a file even. Yes, by Rocío Montiel. This very nice file from that is available in the Blender gallery. Okay, so what I showed last week is how now when you right click in the outliner in any object, you have a menu that is top level about library overrides. And there used to be some, I think it was called create, now it's make, because much more consistent with what actually happens, not creating, it's making. There is a bit of naming convention basically that needed to be followed. Make selected content, and selected and content hasn't changed. There's now descriptions for each one of the this actually has a more useful tooltip, and the same for all the operators. And the troubleshoot hierarchy, it has been renamed to just troubleshoot. And now, why is this menu so wide if it only has like super short? Anyway, with resync and force, and now they also have these giant tooltips to learn what they do. You shouldn't be using these features so often. It's more troubleshooting, as name mentions, but allows you to basically rebuild your override in case something has changed in the original file and it has to be rebuilt. But super neat. Also, this menu is available in the right-click menu of the ID template. This menu where you can, for example, if I want to toggle the override in this, I could shift-click on this. For example, I have an object. I have this lamp, right? This lamp, I actually brought it from. Let's select the key light here. I can't move it because it's linked. But what if I want to move it? Well, I can create a library I can make a library override, or I can simply much more quickly, but you have to learn because still not in the tooltip. This will be fixed for 3.3. I mentioned it to the developers. It's not mentioned in the tooltip yet, but if you watch Blender.Today, you know now. Shift click toggles the library override. As you can see, still a library override, but you can change the values, and then it becomes you basically override this property for this object. How do you know? Well, because one, it's still linked, it's grayed out, it shows this icon, the library override icon. Also in the outliner, it shows the library override icon, and in the outliners library override section in properties, you can see the actual property that has been changed, and you can even change it from here. So at a glance, you can see everything that has to do with that object, even the modifiers. I should be able to make a library override from modifiers if I make this override and then I change the value. You see, I'm changing the thickness of this modifier. They become cyan, which means I'm overriding a property locally from a linked object, making a library override. And then you should see it much more organized in the new. This is 3.3 LTS in the new view. So nice. It used to, I don't know if you remember, but it used to be just one flat list of the RNA name, like the Python name, which is not translatable, and it often has a name that is not the same as in the UI. So now it is, and now you can change your values from here. Super cool. All right. Next. Geez, already 6 o'clock. All right, let's go. Let's try to go a bit faster. But it's nice to show about to talk about library overrides because not everybody knows the potential of it. We are aware though that the UI wasn't great until these latest changes. Also, the functionality was a bit more. It was a bit more cumbersome, but we hope that in 3.3 people are gonna start using this a bit more now that things look a bit more organized. Let's hope. Okay, the other potpourri, this is potpourri section. So a mix of features. This one is an optimization. When you're using a grayscale image or black and white image, there has been an optimization done by Yorun where it uses less memory. So for 104 textures, instead of taking 3.3 gigs nearly, it will take 2.9 gigs. And that's nice. Yeah, optimizations. This is an Eevee, by the way. It's in general, but it should be Eevee and related to something Eevee next that is coming up next. Not today, but soon. All right, next. Eevee next. Metaballs. Yes, this is an internal change, but very promising for the Metaball universe. The metaverse, Metaball. How do you call a metaball that lives in the metaverse? The change, it's all internal. Mainly, it makes metaballs behave more internally like a regular mesh, like evaluate it like a regular mesh. So it can gain all the optimizations that are done for meshes, also for metaballs, and they become a first-class citizen. And also, the evaluated mesh from a metaball object can be used in geometry nodes. That is kind of big. So yay for that. Stay tuned for more metaball verse. Exactly. All right. Another change completely unrelated to anything is for Linux users. The Wayland implementation of Blender now has support for the end of the n degrees of freedom controls, like the 3D connection, space mouse, or all the space devices that allow you to go in like all directions. Actually, in the SIGGRAPH video, I show a bit of or not. Anyway, I went to see them and they were demoing their Space Navigator with some really old blend files. I asked them to please update their demos. But yeah, they were using Yo Frankie, like the main character from the only open game ever made back in 2008, the one I was part of. Okay, next, Obj Importer in 3.3 wasn't keeping the vertex order, which is very important to keep the same vertex order when you import an object and a file in general. So this has been fixed by Aras. So thank you, Aras. This is part of 3.3. More. Oh, this is also a fix for 3.3, which is great if you make add-ons and you have custom context menus, because apparently, if two add-ons were adding their own context menu items, they will get overridden basically, and it will be a race to which one gets registered later. So last, basically. This has been fixed, and now there is a change that you should check the commit log, the change, the link in the description of this video if you want to read more, because you should use a new class called UI menu type button context menu instead of the old window manager menu class. Next, outliner. Oh yeah, a small improvement in functionality. No, not functionality, sorry, in performance for the library overrides mode in the outliner. This is a small performance improvement. I think there will be more coming according to what Julian said, not in this commit, but in another one. And this makes it so it would happen in the project heist production file. So the next open movie project that you can learn more from studio.blender.org. The project heist it's using it's using Eevee, and it's using library overrides a lot. Even though it's only one character, it goes through many transformations. So yeah, there are times where the tree or the hierarchy tree is just huge. This is great because it lets developers see that often it was just the outliner would become unresponsive for like 30 seconds trying to redraw everything at once in that hierarchy, like thousands of objects. Now this has been changed, and now it should be immediate. It should be like tens of milliseconds, because it will only render what is invisible in the view, and then when you scroll, it will be loading whatever is in the view. However, when you search, you still need to rebuild the entire tree because you're searching, right? You need to see everything at glance at once. So it's essentially unusable right now. And he asks, shall we disallow searching altogether? Which I would say no, because this is kind of an extreme case. Maybe instead of when things get too slow, instead of just recalculate the search as you type, there could be like a search. Well, I don't know how good Blender know, but the thing is, if on the first letter you have to wait 30 seconds, I would say maybe it's better to just type what you know and then click on search, something like that. I don't know. Sounds a bit ad hoc though, but yeah. Those 30 seconds actually got reduced from 25 to 23.6 seconds when rebuilding the tree. That's super nice. And last but not least, I wanted to give a shout out to a new name that I've noticed. Luis Pereira. Amigo. With that name, I call you amigo. It's your second, I think, 2 weeks registered here. And I don't know if you've been around before, but I've seen that you fixed something in the Musgrave hybrid multifractal Musgrave calculation. If you use Musgrave with a hybrid multifractal, you may want to know that now your renders are going to look a bit different because some detail value of settings were not working as expected. So yeah, it looked different because now it works basically. So yeah, this is how it used to be, and this is how it is now. So when you had 0 level of detail, Blender, the multifractal, would still show some detail, which didn't make much sense. And now it actually shows black because it's correct. But also this is very interesting. So when the detail value was in 2 and in 3, it would be okay, right? It wouldn't be much of a difference, a bit more detail. But somewhere in between, the calculation was completely off. So I don't know if you noticed, but yeah, it's just strange how this works. And now this has been fixed. The same for certain values between 1 and 2, and the same for between 0 and 1. So I guess the in-between values that are not completely round was having an issue. So yeah, thanks for fixing this, Luis Pereira, and congrats on getting your patch in Blender. I hope to see more of you. All right, next. No, actually, no, there's no more next. I think we are done with, okay. Let's go quickly through some of the questions. 22 comments. And I forgot to turn on the airco, and I'm kind of... Should I just go and turn on the airco? Okay, I will do that. Let's check some of the questions here. Pupa doesn't even say hello. So you know what? I'm gonna start. These are the most votes. And you vote yourself. Should I punish unpoliteness of or not? Let's see. I'm gonna turn on the airco, otherwise I'm gonna... There. So I can read the questions and not die. I would, okay, so Emre asks, Hola Pablo, hope you had a nice time at SIGGRAPH. Thank you. I hope you too, if you were there. I would really love to optimize my shader node trees, and wanted to ask if something like shader node timings could be implemented into Blender. Oh, that's a really good idea, because we have that feature already for geometry nodes. I had multiple times the scenario where I had many node setups resulting in the same shader, but I wasn't sure which node setup. I made a small demonstration here. My proposal as already seen in geometry nodes. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the feature is already there. Well, why not? I don't know if technically this is possible, but yes, timing for everything, for compositing, even anything. Yeah, I don't have anything against it. Makes total sense. Next, Michelle says, Hi, Pablo. I have a question regarding Blender hiding. I'm an author of JFlow Alpha, the real-time GPU smoke simulator, which is showed on Blender Dev Talk. That's, let's see. JFlow Alpha, so it's like a JavaScript. Okay, what is the question? I've seen that there is a job with physics simulator. However, it requires node graphs knowledge, which I have limited. Should I apply, or is it impossible from the beginning? You should apply. You should apply, because if you can do this, I mean, you can do anything really. Just do it. Anything is welcome. If you can't help in that area, look at that. That's fun. That's amazing. Yeah, don't even. Look, amazing. Yeah, don't hesitate. Please apply. Well, actually, in the blender.org/jobs, we need people like you that make. This is open source, I guess. Is it? Real-time GPU, is it open? Please tell me it's open. Anyway, if it's open and you have experience making open source and you want to share your work with the world and make it so everybody in the world can use it, please apply. In the position at the very bottom, it says about other positions that are open. So even if not like maybe your project doesn't fit in like a full-time from day one with like flying to Amsterdam, bring all your family and kids and stuff, but maybe you could start with a 6-month grant, 1 year, 3 months, whatever. Yes, please. There is no one actually at the moment working on physics. Like Mantaflow is been sitting in a corner, poor guy. So please. Next question. Prince of Sloth says, Hola Pablo. Hola Prince. I would like to ask if there has been any talk of integrating Material X or MDL shading languages to either or cycles. Yep, actually there are discussions. That's one of the great things about SIGGRAPH, is that you get to talk with people that actually worked on the project, or just having a beer with someone, or even discussing with other people, other studios that are using it, or are interested in maybe having Blender to have these features. So yeah, there is. There are plans. Alexi says, Hello Pablo, after the real-time compositor appeared, it would be cool to implement the idea of combining the sequencer and the compositor as everything nodes project, for example, so that in the compositor could add a strip node from the sequencer with some footage, edit in a compositor, and get immediate result in the video sequencer. So you're using existing nodes to strip with off limits of existing strip modifiers. Yes, make a new node system for the VSE like a compositor. Something of it is possible. Everything is possible, right, with code. The answer is like, I don't know if you noticed, but when you were explaining the features, there are many ways of going about it, right? Like you could have in the compositor like an output of the sequencer, right? Or you could go the other way around and you could have a in the sequencer, you could have, for example, you know, there are strips. So you could have like a node tree strip, or we have an adjustment layer already. So what if the adjustment layer instead had a modifier that is like a geometry nodes modifier that gives you access somewhere else that you can expose settings? That would be pretty neat. So what is the best way to go about it? It's pretty interesting, a pretty interesting puzzle to solve. I think I lean more towards having a modifier here that is a geometry nodes. Oh, no, geometry, sorry, node-based modifier. So basically you can already reuse a lot of the nodes from the compositor and just having on a per layer, per strip setting. Yeah, it's a pity that the entire the sequencer is still CPU, highly in CPU. So that probably has to be tackled first. Otherwise, it's gonna be very quick to calculate, but then in real time. But then when you render that, it's gonna take a while. Okay, hi Pablo. How can I easily improve Blender UI translation? I tried to enable the add-on provided for this purpose, but it seems that it's no longer maintained and doesn't work anymore. Please report the bug because there are people working on it, and there yeah, it should work. When in doubt, go to, if you go to developer.blender.org, there should be a, oh, there's triaging, the translation thing. What is it? Translations project. There you go. How to translate Blender, and then here in the chat, here it's gonna take you to the Blender chat channel where you can chat directly with people in the project. So thanks for being interested in this. I'm gonna drop a comment here so you get the link. Sorry for the unpoliteness of not, oh no, this is gonna reload the entire list and I'm gonna lose where I was. Okay, nothing, not much has changed. Only my voice. I'm running out of voice already. Let's do 5 more questions. Hi Pablo, hope you had a nice SIGGRAPH. Just wanted to ask if there is going to be any improvements on the hair shading front. Till now, the principal hair shader is only properly supported in Cycles and not in Eevee. Some shameless self-promoting, here's my new movie, than in Blender. So it better has hair, and it better looks bad. So that way you can say like, it's gonna, oh yeah, it has hair, but it doesn't look bad. So that's unfair. You're already making great looking hair. So yeah, no, Eevee still doesn't have a, this is it's a lot of action. That is a mix. What if cats and explosions? So this is like, what if Dylan Gu and Ian Hubert had a CG baby? That's so cool. Nice. Not gonna spoil the end. You go and watch it. The yeah, hair rendering is definitely going to have a second look at, especially performance. But yeah, Eevee should step up its game. You know that the team on the studio team actually is using Eevee for their film, and it's all render wise July. Anyway, you should see some renders here. I'm not logged in again. I got kicked out. Okay, yeah. So this hair rendering, it's Eevee. So when in doubt, download the files. I mean, it looks fairly good. Maybe anti-aliasing could be better. I guess rendering higher and then downsampling. It's not too bad if you look at it. I don't know what trickery the guys are using. So for that, go to the cloud and download the file. I think it's even free for download. There is one file that is free. I'm I think. Let's try to find it. How can I find it? Content gallery, maybe. Free hair grooming file. Yes, this one is free for download for everybody. So maybe you can use it as a starting point. And I link to it on the comment here. I should stop commenting because it reshuffles everything. Okay, so this one has a vote and it's by someone else, so it means the community wants me to answer this. So Sapar says, "Hi Pablo and the community. I wanted to know if there is someone working on physics simulation in Blender." Yes, the developer that just posted a few lines ago. I haven't seen any major improvements. I haven't either. Could you please tell us about when the simulations will behave like the ones in other programs? I prefer using Blender over other soft. I am all with you. I prefer Blender. I haven't seen any improvements because the developer that was working on that area, it's no longer working for Blender. So it's yeah, that's why it's scary sometimes that there are whole entire sections of Blender that depend on one person, that if just that person can't work or doesn't or whatever stops working in that area, then that area is orphaned until someone else comes in and helps. So having a larger team would benefit everybody. So again, shameless plug, but hey, we're all here for Blender. So the more people that can contribute to this, we haven't, like, when Blender 3.0 came out like a year ago, we still haven't reached the 3,000 people. Yeah, the money has been going up, but it's mainly through through companies, which is okay. I mean, companies are great, but the problem is that one of the companies just can't support anymore. Then it means that there is a large yeah, I mean, proportionally there's, let's say I would be feel much more at ease if there were more individuals, more people, regular people like you and me that are helping out with like $5 per month than large companies with more money. All right, I don't know where I'm here. Okay. Second question: will there be some helpers like effectors in C4D? I have no idea what this is. I don't have experience with Cinema 4D. Usually when referring to other software, it's always better to try to explain what the feature does, at least in like a short, or maybe link to a video, because not everybody is familiar with the terminology from other software. 3 things that can make Blender go down forever. Outliner object storing system. Blender makes all the modifiers child of the object, while C4D makes modifiers parent. This brings very enormous amounts of possibilities. Well, I guess if we can have modifiers in collections, that should be solved, right? That should solve the issue. Effector simulations. Let's do 2 more questions since I are here. Hello, Pablo. Nice to see your show. When will geometry nodes meet Chris Pencil? Very soon. Chris Pencil actually is going through what Cycles X been through, what EV Next is going through. A rewrite, a complete rewrite. So expect Chris Pencil. So basically, Chris Pencil strokes are going to be curves internally, which means that everything that curves can do, like geometry nodes, it's gonna come in for free. Yes. But yeah, it's being worked on. I wouldn't expect, it's not for 3.3 for sure, and I wouldn't say 3.4, although I'm not up to date with what the team is working as of today. Actually, okay, geez, 6:20. Okay, I need to wrap up because I need to go do the Spanish version of this show. Sorry for all the questions that I didn't get to answer, but I need to wrap up. Also, this week we've seen a lot of improvements. Next week it's gonna be a bit quiet because 2 things. One, there is a Blender release 3.3 LTS coming out, so that takes time from everybody to get it ready. And you also should be busy testing it. And well, you should be busy testing it now before the release. So every bug that you encounter can be fixed before the release. Although it's an LTS, there will be fixes for sure. And there will be 3.3, 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, because it's going to be active for 2 years, right? But the other reason why things are going to be a bit quiet is because I won't make a live stream, because I'm going to be in Mexico. I'm going to be assisting the Pixelatl festival in Guadalajara. So if you want to hang out, chat, meet, please, yeah, just show up to the festival. It's called Pixelatl, and their website seems to be hosted in Mexico. That's why it's taking so long. Oh no, our internet's slow here. But yeah, Pixelatl. It's an animation festival. It's like the Annecy of Latin America. It's just amazing. So yeah, gonna be there 6 to 10 September, and might see you there, I hope. All right, next. Oh, Hans says the next year maybe. Oh, that's for Grease Pencil Geometry Nodes. Yeah, let's say next year to be safe. Next year, although, because the next release is coming out in December, the next release in December 3.4, and then it's test time, like O4Ili says. Exactly. Yes, awesome. All right, that is all for me. I'm not gonna see you next week, but I'm gonna see you the week after, when we get together with a new release, and I'm gonna be totally jet lagged, so I apologize in advance, but it's gonna be the 13th of September. That is all. All right, thanks everyone, have a great week. I'm gonna go and do the Spanish version of this show, and in the meantime, happy blending, have a great week. Tune in, not next week, but the week after, at the same time, in the same place, for another Blender.Today live. Watch your ear holes. I don't know how loud was that, but bye, thanks, see you, bye.